Hi everyone, welcome. It was maybe 10 or 12 days ago that I prepared these two bins for my African nightcrawlers that I've been trying to migrate out of their finished castings for about 24 days now. And as a finishing touch, to make these new homes for them extra welcoming, I laid down a feeding that's just waiting for them now once they arrive. And the system that we're going to be harvesting the castings from and relocating the worms from is right over here. I actually came in and I aerated the castings just to verify that it was in fact working in terms of the migration of the worms out of the castings. And over the course of maybe, I don't know, 10-12 minutes I spent combing through that material there, aerating it. I found one single worm that I threw over into the collection area, and that was it. No other worms in this material. This way I feel like I can pretty confidently say that once we haul the worms out of this horizontal migration feeding zone, the batch of castings can go straight into storage, treating that as a harvested batch, and then the system can get cleaned out and reset for its next function. So we're going to get this bin up on the bench, haul the worms out, get them out of here, and introduce them to their new home. So let's get started. Yeah, it's interesting. It's just so happens that the last system that I harvested was also depopulated for the most part on day 280. However, in that system I had to leave the system to go for another couple weeks to fish out stragglers. Here I've already confirmed that there are no stragglers, not a single worm in these castings. And I would also have to imagine that after I stirred all the dry stuff that was out here on the surface down into whatever material was still hanging on to a little bit of its moisture, I probably made it even more inhospitable. So if there were still any stragglers in the material that I missed, other than the one that I fished out of there, to throw them into the collection area, then I would think that they're probably not too keen on being in that material, being as dry as it is. So let's dig in here. So yesterday I just came in here and I pretty much separated the finished castings from the little divider. So I'm going to do that really quick once again here, and I might as well put this away. But I guess the last thing I wanted to make note of was this little interesting tidbit, how the system here was actually launched with fewer than 750 worms. 748 worms is what we imagined to be the starting population of this system 40 weeks ago. Look at this. What are these little guys doing over here? Don't spoil my day. I thought this thing was all set to go, as simple as can be. Completely depopulated castings, but whatever. It seems like there are a couple wormies hanging out in this still. I mean, I went through this pretty thoroughly. So for there still to be worms in the stuff is quite surprising. I'm going to treat those as little weird outliers. A couple adventurous worms, for whatever reason, ended up over there. But I'm going to assume that we have no more. Who knows? Maybe we can just do a quick glance through the material as a reality check when we're done. Maybe check it out a little bit, but I think the time has come to haul out. So I wanted to start two new systems with the worms that have gathered here. So I'm just going to, in some fashion, separate this feeding zone into two separate halves and trust that the worms have evenly populated this entire edge of the bin, so that we can trust that for the most part we're going to have an equal number of worms with which we're going to launch off two new systems. So let's take a quick peek at what we've ended up with over here on this side. All right. This thing is pretty much all worms. Just a solid mass of worms. I can't do much with it because I'm just spilling it in the process, but I wanted to make sure I've grabbed every last bit that we decided was going to be the half that's going to be used to populate our new bin number 1. And my gut instinct on what's here in this tray well exceeds 750. It's got a nice bit of weight to it. It's pretty much worms only. I mean, no, that's an exaggeration. There's obviously other stuff here too besides worms, but there is a lot of worms over here. So let's see what this haul out looks like. Here too, I would have to say more of the same. We were pretty consistent in laying out materials across the entire width, so there shouldn't have been any sort of a lopsided bias for more food being on one or the other edge. I would say that it was probably pretty evenly distributed, so the turnout is not too surprisingly quite evenly distributed as well. So at this point I'm just gonna see what I could do about getting the last few little stragglers pulled out of here, because I did go at this with the assumption that I wouldn't have to, you know, be baiting worms out of the finished castings. I could truly treat this as a batch of finished castings, and I really do hope we can continue with that thinking. Alright, so this is just turning into a little bit more of a mess than I thought it would. I didn't think I would exceed the capacity of these little white trays quite as much as we did, but we've also got a little bit more room in the other one. I'm already starting to formulate a number in my head, and I'm gonna lean towards an even split on the number of worms over here. So I'm already getting a rough number, but I naturally need to see it in action. I need to see these wormies getting released into their new home so that I can really size up just what we're talking about here in terms of population estimates. So before we sign off here and consider this as a done deal, this system here, this 280-day-old batch of castings, we're just going to go through it really quick, just in case one or two little wormies might have accidentally been left behind. But my hope is that we can really treat this stuff as just a now harvested batch of castings. Did I just see a worm? I think I did. I got you, buddy. Don't worry. You're not going to be left behind. And is that another one? No. This stuff really is very nice. So sometimes that piece right there that I just pulled out, that's plastic. It's translucent, or transparent actually. I could see through it. I was about to throw it in the little stack of worms and just let it go with them to their new home, but it's plastic, so it's got no place in the worm bins. So let's make it official. Let's consider this material depopulated. Requires no baiting of any stragglers. It's just a nice batch of worm castings, and the only thing left to take care of is the release of our little wormies into their new home. Let's get that going right now. Well, I think we all know what comes next, so why put off the inevitable? And as always, I'm going to be looking to you guys, the viewers. Please comment. Let me know over here, down here in bin number 1, and over here too in bin number 2. Not how many springtails did we just release, because springtails there are many, that's for sure. But how many worms? How many worms did we just release? And I'm leaning towards a number that's equal. It's the way it seemed to me when I was holding them in my hand, and just from their weight. And even now, I wanted to use this as a final opportunity to see them and verify in my mind that, yeah, I think we've got 2 equal amounts of worms. And you know what, just to play it safe, perhaps it seems like a couple could come over to help with that, but let's let these little guys get settled into their new home. And please leave a comment. Let me know, how many worms did we just release into these 2 systems? Give me a number for 1, give me a number for 2, or just give me a single number that accounts for how many worms you think were released into both. Now to top off here, I've got the little divider that we were using as the the thing keeping our nice castings clean and free of debris from the horizontal migration feeding zone. And I've also got this other piece of cardboard. This piece of cardboard, I believe, goes back to when these worms were still operating as an everyday compost bin, and at some point prior to me beginning their horizontal migration 24 days ago, this was kind of a shade cover that we would keep on the system. And since it always kind of belonged to the system, I'm thinking let's keep it with the system. And those things are going in dry. I bet you they're going to be totally soaked by the next time we come back in here, you know, because the plastic covers that we're going to be putting on here are going to cause the moisture in these systems to recirculate, and anything under the plastic will certainly get a whole bunch of moisture. So now really quick before we... Alright, just want to make sure we didn't leave any wormies stranded. We did not. I'll be able to clean out that stuff later. I just wanted to really quick bring back the plastic that was covering the horizontal migration feeding zone, because that'll work well as a top cover for one of the systems. We'll cover bin number 1 with that. And I've got another plastic right here that we could use to cover up bin number 1. And for the most part, it would look like we're almost done, but not quite yet. Just one more thing. Yep. Some of you might have already guessed it. It's that time. It's time to christen our new bins. So please join me in welcoming the 2 newest systems down here in my wormery. It's the African nightcrawlers, bins number 1 and bin number 2. Always nice to take a population that's doing well and split them, give them a little bit of extra breathing room so that hopefully they'll grow and increase their numbers and thrive in the new environment that you created for them. And the only other loose end to take care of is naturally relieving this bin over here of the arduous task of storing castings. That's all right, I got a bucket lined up for this, and then off can come the label and back into the pool of available bins for this container. So that's it for the video, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye now.